getting you somewhere is a process. The last thing we said last night was, hey, we'll record at 3 o'clock. I should be back by then.
You did.
I'll be back and ready to go by then. I said
That's
I would say 2, but that's iffy. 3 o'clock definitely. And then you popped out here and you're wandering around at 3:15 like, are you waiting on me? I'm like, yes, I'm waiting on you.
That is not how that happened, but okay.
And then you said, well, I'm going to need 20 minutes.
You're making shit up.
You said those exact fucking words. I'm going to need at least 20 minutes. I got the coffee going.
I said that was accurate, but you're making up other shit to create drama.
No. This isn't funny to me.
It was not decided
this
last
isn't
night.
funny to me.
Last night you had to go to a thing and you didn't know. You were thinking 3 or 4. You didn't know when you'd be home.
Because I knew something that you would understand, that I'm not going to last much longer than 2 hours at a room full of people that I don't want to be in.
Yeah, that's my limit.
2 hours was cutting it close, too. I was like, I got to leave this, like...
Toxic people?
Not even toxic. It's just like these people. They're not even being toxic. They're just people. Let's go back to a much more pleasant time. The mid-90s.
Mid-90s?
Before the internet had created this, like, 24-hour news culture where we have to hear all the bad news every waking second.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So we saw Welcome to Movieisms.
Yeah.
I'm Michael Beckemeyer.
I'm Balding Ewok. Why did I say my own name as if I was irritated by it?
Can we call you the Bald Ewok?
I feel like I'm still in the process of balding. I think I have to wait till I'm completely bald before I'm just Bald Ewok.
Yeah, but you're never going to go completely bald. You're like a human ape.
I'll just have like one struggling hair that's like, I'm not going anywhere.
Hey, everybody. It's Brad's remaining hair. Brad's remaining follicle.
Yeah, that is... See, now I'm getting depressed again. Let's talk about the mid-90s when I had more hair.
When you had more hair. We should find that picture or that clip of you with hair down to your shoulders like you had that time. Bad! Bad! You remember that?
Oh.
You mean, remember Bad, Brad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Is that back... that was... Thing is, that was mid-90s.
Was it? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was mid-90s.
Our first attempt at filmmaking was in the mid-90s.
Yeah. And Brad had one line in the whole movie. It was bad. And I guess it was foreshadowing.
I had more than one line. You had me threaten someone badly.
Bad!
I didn't know
bad!
how to...
And you were
I didn't know how to...
We didn't have a real club or anything, so we gave you like this back massager that you were hitting.
Is that what that was?
That was a back massager. Like this, it looked kind of like a...
piece of wood or something.
Like it looked almost like a wooden dildo. They had a knob on either end. And it was a back massager. You were supposed to rub it along someone's back like that.
I thought you used it for like kneading dough. I didn't know.
No, you were kneading.
Why does that guy walk around with that anyway? That stick was almost as big as me. It's a weird character you made.
And I only knew one person who would fit. It was you. Bad! Bad!
We do have a clip of that.
Somewhere, yeah.
I have it digitized. Hopefully no one will ever see that, but they will. You know we're going to put it up. Right, mid-90s.
So mid-90s, which was written and directed by Jonah Hill. It was his directorial debut. And
Skinny Jonah Hill.
But written and directed by Skinny Jonah Hill. Except I think he was still heavy when he started writing it, because it was 4 years ago when he started working on it.
Yeah, he's just skinny
So
now.
it was written by Superbad Jonah Hill, but directed by Skinny Jonah Hill.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's why he got skinny. Because you know that directing can take...
You saw what it did to Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
He, aged 20 years.
Except for me, I always end up gaining weight while I'm directing. Because I stress eat.
Oh, you stress eat.
I stress eat, and I just go on complete and total 20-hour-a-day mode.
I forget to eat because I'm so stressed out about what's going on.
You could stand to forget to eat, man. You eat every 3 hours.
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah. I'm opposite. People usually eat when they're depressed. I don't. I eat when I feel good, and then I get fat.
Then why do you eat
when
so
I'm
much?
happy, the fatter I am, the happier I am.
Well, the thing is, you never are happy, though. Like, why are you eating? When I see you, it's like, you're eating something. Oh, Brad must be happy today.
No, you're not. You're never thinking that.
I think you're happy because you're eating. So that is an eating disorder.
It's possible.
I'm going to eat to make myself happy.
Maybe my brain reversed things.
Hey, look. Cookies. So
back to the movie.
So it's got a bunch of I'm gonna say newcomers, mostly because they're people that I haven't seen before.
I haven't seen any of them.
But this guy,
except the woman,
Sonny Suljic, I think is his name, who plays the main character in the movie. Basically a little kid. I don't know how old he is, but he's not more than 10 or 12 years old in the movie. I don't know if they ever really say how it is, but he's prepubescent.
Sorry, I'm having flashbacks of Anakin, and I keep thinking, why couldn't you have hired a decent actor? Like, this kid is so great in this movie.
Yeah.
I came out saying he needs to at least be nominated for an award, because, man, that was some amazing acting from however old he is.
So the movie doesn't really have what you would call like a plot. There's not like this happens and then this happens and then this happens. It's more like indie films from the 90s. It feels like the movies. Jonah Hill has said, I heard him in an interview. If you want to listen to the interview, he was on a show called The Variety Podcast with Christopher Tapley. It's like they do like 30, 45 minute just sit down interviews. It's like a variety interview, but it's an audio podcast. He basically said that he'd always wanted to make movies his whole life. He just ended up becoming a famous actor before he got to the making movies part.
Yeah, you take whatever road you have to so you can get where you want.
He studied film in school. He was a filmmaker and just ended up, Superbad. Which, by the way, is one of the best comedies like ever. Truly, the weird, strange relationship he has with his best buddy, where they love each other, but they're teenage boys, so they don't really want to admit it to each other.
Yeah.
But remember at the end when they're sitting there hugging each other, I love you, man. I just love you, man. And then they wake up in the morning and it's like, what did I do?
Yeah.
It's like that's what kind of like bromance is like, except I don't love you.
I don't love me either.
Okay.
So we're on the same page.
But this movie, it's even shot in, okay, so we're going to drop a technical term on people. It's shot in 4:3, which is like what standard definition TVs used to be. Square. It's square. So it's what standard definition TVs used to be back in the 90s. So when you watch something on television, it was the square.
I can't believe... I hate when I'm reminded that I'm actually old. Like, watching with the square on the screen, first of all, it wasn't as hard to get used to as I thought it would be.
No.
Because
it's part of us. It's burned in our brains.
I was going to say, TV was square. Everything was square. Movies were square, except when you went to the theater. But when you watch movies on your TV, they were square.
Yeah. Video games?
Yeah. So it was hard, the transition when HD and widescreen came out. It was hard getting used to, although you and I started getting used to it early on, because we would, when we got movies on DVD, we would always get the widescreen. So it would be even smaller, because they'd have to make squeeze the image down to fit within the square, so the widescreen would fit.
Yeah, because I as a filmmaker at the time, I was like a purist. I wanted to see the version of the film that was made, not the blown up to fit your TV screen.
And
version.
The pan and scan.
Pan and scan was
the worst thing. It would always took me out of the movie when I could tell that I could see the digital etching moving across the screen. I'm like, okay, that's pan and scan. They're panning to go to the action that you should be already seeing. But there was an adjustment period of getting used to widescreen, and then so it felt weird to me complaining about, now I gotta watch a square.
And but the thing is, it hit like almost like a sensory reflex.
Yeah,
like it does take you back instantly. It felt to me like I was watching an indie film that was made in the 90s.
Yeah, it had a really great film look to it. I noticed I could see some of those little hairs and scratches that you would see in film.
And I wonder if those are on purpose or not. I wonder if that was part of the nostalgia of the thing, because sometimes people shoot things on film all the time and we don't see those little scratches and hairs. Well, not as much as they used to, but if you go see like a Christopher Nolan movie or something like that, or even trying to think of a movie we just saw, but anyway, those scratches I'm pretty sure were added because you don't get those, you don't have those problems anymore unless they shot on film stock from back then.
Yeah, like
on purpose. I think they may have shot on 16 millimeter. I need to look that up. I don't really know for sure. I think he said that they shot on 16 millimeter.
Yeah, I'm very curious because I would think. I told you the way I would do it is I would shoot on like red camera HD and just put squares on the screen, or what do you call it? Block off the screen to the correct format.
That's because you don't care about things being right.
No, I just want the highest quality possible, and then we can add a film thing to it later.
That's how we are today. Like, want the highest quality possible.
Because you can take your high definition footage. Basically, film is high definition.
Yeah.
So you can take your digital footage and project it onto film and get the film look. So I don't know.
Yeah. So it is it's like it hits like a nostalgic not funny bone, but like a nostalgic like spot in your heart.
Yeah.
You're like it does look, sound, and feel like you're watching something that was made back then, but also the tone of the story was very much indie film from the 90s. Like a lot of the indie films we saw were very much slice of life like this and not necessarily plot driven. Like independent films were very like almost like character studies.
Yeah.
This happens and then this happens, but it's not really plot driven. It's just like then this happens and then because of that this happens. So it's a little more of a character study than it is point A, point B, point C on the story. You know, the story points.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the characters. The characters are so interesting. Like the main character, but his brother is interesting, and all the people who are playing the friends that he comes across in this movie that he wants to integrate himself into. And Jonah Hill said in that interview that I told you that I heard, he said that this was he always wanted to be part of the skateboarding culture, but I guess never was. He so desperately he felt like an outsider looking into them. So this was like a love poem to those kids that he wished he was like when he was a kid.
I wanted to break dance when I was a kid. I remember me and a friend got a piece of cardboard and put it on the driveway. And the very first move, when I hit the ground, I realized this is just a piece of cardboard on top of this hard concrete. This hurts. There's no...
It's not supposed to be padding. It was just to help you...
My breakdancing dreams began and ended all in one day because that shit hurt. And I wasn't going to try spinning around and flopping around on the hard ground. But it wasn't
to protect you. It was to make you spin like on the concrete. Because they would spin on like...
Shit hurts.
On the like sidewalks, which weren't very... smooth.
Oh my god, that would hurt. So yeah.
Yeah, see, so if we were to make a movie about our adolescent years, it would be wanting to be like a ninja or the Karate Kid or like breakdancing, stuff like that.
Yeah, I had a cousin that was obsessed with Michael Jackson, so his room was all, he had a glove and the microphone, he had the outfit and all of that.
Back before we knew.
Yeah.
Before we knew how Michael Jackson...
He was bad. Yeah.
You know it.
Chimon.
But Yeah, the movie does feel like you like found footage from this thing from the 90s. Yeah, it was very
I just realized I didn't even look at the lighting or anything, or it just looked how it was supposed to look.
Yeah.
So like my filmmaking eye, I kind of just left it.
For me, I never really felt like we were being manipulated into a shot. It just felt very true.
It was so natural.
Very truthful and natural. Natural is the right word.
It must have been a lot of natural lighting, because there was at no point did I look at the lighting.
Yeah. So I think because we're just talking about slice of life and how it's not really plot driven, doesn't mean nothing happens in the movie, but it happens how it relates to a character. And there are some very, very intense moments, like very early in the thing, like in the first shot of the movie is this shot of that hallway when his brother throws him out into the hallway, slams him up against the wall.
Brutal.
So hard. Brad jumped as if it was a jump scare in a horror movie.
Dude,
you hit me. You hit me, in fact. You went, ah! Like that. And I was like, don't.
That kid ran 20 miles an hour flat. His head just slammed into the wall. Like, a lot of that shit was real. I couldn't believe they got away with a lot of the things they did with that kid, because that kid was actually hurting himself.
Yeah.
When he brushed did the brush on his leg.
Yeah.
Because you said he was self-hurting.
Self-harming, yeah.
Or self-harming.
Yeah.
And he tried to choke himself with his Nintendo cables or whatever those were.
PS1.
Oh, PS1.
Remember you told me it was a PS1.
Well, yeah, but he had 3 different consoles.
Yeah, like you. He was like you.
N64.
And he was almost as tall as you are.
Super NES and a PS1. 3 different shots. 3 different.
So the big brother slams him into a wall, and then he falls on the ground, and then the brother jumps on him and just starts pummeling the shit out of him. Like it's some of the violent the violent surges in this movie were so abrupt.
Those kids were actually hitting each other. I mean, they're getting hurt.
And the kid just goes through. That's what he was. He had a big brother who was bullying him, and the big brother. You find out you don't really. I guess you kind of find out what's going on with the big brother, but I think mostly it's I think that he was jealous. The big brother was sort of jealous of his little brother because his mom had the big brother at such a young age that things were different for him. So by the time this kid, the second kid, comes along, mom had kind of had the shit together a little bit, and the big brother kind of looked at him and was like, "Well, you're spoiled. Like, you didn't grow up the way I did."
But they don't have a dad, and the mom.
No, well, they have a dad.
I never saw a dad.
Well, you don't see the dad, but everybody has a dad. Come on, Brad. Don't you know how the birds and the bees
single
work?
Mother. It seemed like she was a single mother and never around. I'm assuming because she was working all the time. So you only see her show up when they get in trouble.
Yes, and I mean, literally though, beats the shit out of him multiple times in the movie.
Not the woman, his brother.
Right, the brother beats the shit out of him multiple times in the movie, and the sound is so strong that you can almost feel the hits.
I reacted every time something happened with that kid.
Yeah, and the brother's performance is great because you believe that he fucking hates him.
Yeah.
And then the friends, mostly I want to talk about the friends because there was something in the 90s. I think that the 90s version of the hippie was the slacker. So we had in the 60s and 70s there were the hippies, the flower child, those people. They're all, hey, every bit true love and all this stuff, and our version of that in the 90s, the people that we kind of looked at what's wrong with you? What are you going to do with your life? Those were the slackers. And there was a very big slacker culture where it's like, hey man, nobody cares. I don't care. Do you care? Nobody cares about anything. And this movie reminded...
Beavis and Butthead culture.
Beavis and Butthead. Yeah, basically.
Just sit around watching TV.
Yeah, so this movie... I've had this big thing for a few years now where I just look around and realize that I feel like nobody cares. Nobody cares about anything. And
even today, nobody cares. Nobody cares about what we're talking about, or the 90s, or they're like, we said Beavis and Butthead. They'll be like, what's that? Oh, I don't care. That? Yeah. You could Google it and watch videos and find out, but no, you don't care.
But I remember that now from thinking about it when we saw this movie, that the slacker culture of the really not caring about anything, they just acted like nothing mattered. And maybe nothing did matter to them. But I wonder if what we're experiencing now is what happens when those people grow up and have kids. And then their slacker genes, that they have inside of them, raise millennials and whatever we're calling the group of people after that, who are just have the very nothing matters thing, because they really don't think anything matters.
It's interesting how
not all of them, but there's a big thing where people are like, nothing really matters.
Yeah, and the 90s was the transition where it was supposed to be, well, not only okay to be black, but also cool. That's when white people started. Like in the 80s, they started appropriating black culture, and culture. Whatever we thought was cool, then we would do it too. But there was a mix. There was a couple of black kids in the movie. I think there was a mixed kid. He was black and white, I guess, because he had blonde curly hair. Yeah. So it was a mixture. I don't know how that works, but he seemed like a
mix.
A mix, yeah. He wasn't really black or white. He was just both. Mm-hmm. But even so, like everyone's getting, not that we're getting rid of racism, but they're just acting like, look, we're black is cool, mm-hmm. Who cares? But at the same time, everybody has this language. Even they were, and it reminded me of how long it took me to stop using that language. Like, I'm going to say the other F word, faggot, where you would, or you would say, like your friend.
I can't believe you said it. I'm going to have to bleep it or something.
Oh, whatever. I'm not saying it derogatory. I'm saying what they said.
Yeah. Yeah, they did use that language a lot as an insult.
Right, but also they used the term gay,
That's so gay
to mean stupid.
Yeah.
And I remember that I never gave it a second thought, mm-hmm. but I think maybe even 15, maybe 20 years ago, I was still saying that's gay. Yeah. And it took me some
20
time.
20 years ago was the mid-90s, or the late 90s.
Yeah.
You're old,
it's
man.
True.
You don't know.
But I'm saying it took, I think even 15 years ago, I was still saying that.
People are still saying it today. I'm constantly reminding my students. They'll say, that's so gay. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with being gay?
They probably got it from their parents.
They got it from their parents. Who don't, I'm not saying none of their parents care. But what I'm saying is like that sort of stuff. My generation, our generation grew up and they actually, a lot of them do think that this pansy ass complaining about bullying stuff all the time is just everybody's a big baby.
Yeah.
Because when we got bullied in school.
Well, I never got bullied. I should have, but I never did.
I don't think
I'll explain why.
I honestly don't think I ever got bullied. I had contentious relationships with people that didn't like me for whatever random reason. They also didn't know me. But back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, if you got bullied, you dealt with it. You went home. You came back tomorrow, and you dealt with it again. It's not,
or the way they dealt with it. You go home, you beat up on your brother, or you hit someone else to deal with how you got bullied.
Right. The bullies become the bullies. Yeah. So what nowadays, literally, if somebody says something mean, and you hear it, they can PC. They can start to call it bullying.
Yeah. Now we're in the PC. Culture.
I had a student once, and it's not that I didn't believe him. So it's not even that, because I handled the situation. But somebody, he was a peculiar kid. He was like socially awkward, and he was also a know-it-all. So he would say stuff and have snide remarks to people when they said the wrong thing, and then they would laugh at him and sort of make fun of his voice and stuff like that, and he would think he was being bullied they're bullying me. I'm like, well, you did insult them just a second ago. So
Yeah.
were you bullying them? And his response was, I'm not a bully. They're picking on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the melancholy victim way of life.
Right. So, but these...
It's their language of love is to correct you so that you can be accurate.
I love the glowing response you're giving, the glowing review you're giving yourself. It's
Why
their
are you
love
beating?
language.
Why are you beating me up? I'm just helping you not be
wrong. Yeah, but back then, and when this movie is taking place in the mid-90s, if somebody beat the shit out of you, you just got the shit beaten out of you. You didn't complain about it and say you were being bullied.
But by the way, I almost was this kid. Like, remove the skateboarding.
Yeah.
Like, I was so that kid. There were so many...
Because you're as tall as he is, or...
No, well, because I even had a group of friends that if you make them all white, those are my friends. And we had this one dude with long hair. Uh-huh. But what was that guy? Okay, we don't bleep our show, but this kid's name was Fuck Shit.
Right, this kid's name in the movie was Fuck Shit. Because
he would always say... Fuck shit, that was cool, dope, or whatever.
Yeah, that was dope.
Cool.
Yeah, fuck shit, that was dope when he saw something he liked.
Yeah. I had a friend who had long hair, and just like that kid. I don't even remember his name. I'm the worst with names. I probably didn't even care about their names back then. But
you still don't care about people's names.
Yeah.
You still don't know anyone's name.
You're lucky. I know
to this day.
I don't even know my name because now I'm Balding Ewok. What the hell is my name?
Let me ask you a question. How old are you?
I'm 40-ish.
That's right. He doesn't know how old he is. You're 3 years younger than me, so you're 42. Why do I remember that?
I'll be 42 in December.
Right. So you're coming up on 42.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had...
That's just like a month away, okay? So don't act like I was way off.
I'm 41 and 3/4.
You already look 80. I guess you don't want me to make you...
Come on.
You don't want me to make you out to be older than you really are.
I look 30, but I act like I'm 80. Don't look at me like that. I have young, youthful skin.
First off, take your hat off and tell me you look 30.
No. The hat stays
with
on.
the hat on, you look 30. With the hat off, you look 50.
50. Yeah, it's amazing how that works.
That's Ron Howard, man. Ron Howard wears a hat.
Seriously, he looks 80.
A ball cap to the Academy Awards. In his tuxedo, he's got a hat on.
Yeah. But I'm like you. I feel like just at some point I'm just going to own it.
Yeah.
Because just cut it off and just look.
Yeah.
I'm losing my hair. But I got to finish this story. I had a group of friends, and I think that's part of why I never got beat up, because I hung with the cool kids.
Yeah.
But the difference between that kid in the movie and me is at least me and the group, we always talked about doing drugs, but never actually did drugs. So we acted all cool and everything and talked about weed, but we never did it together. And
did you guys have nicknames for each other like these kids? They all had fuck shit and...
Oh yeah, they called me Little Stoner. Which is funny because
because it's an insult at the same time. Little Stoner.
Yeah. So I acted like a stoner, but didn't smoke weed.
How do you act like a stoner?
I don't know. I smoked cigarettes.
Yeah. At what? How old?
I don't know, middle school.
What the fuck, dude? You were 12 years old.
I guess. My father had some bad influences around him at the time, and it was depressing. And we had to rent out part of the house to other people, and then they would, smoke weed or whatever, and then so. So
they put you in the room under a cupboard under the stairs like Harry Potter.
I would have, that would have been like a big room for me.
So they called you Little Stoner. How did you act like a stoner? Were you like slurring your speech, or for the record, I have never smoked weed in my life.
Long hair. I think I had smoked it once, but it's not like I did it more than that once or twice. But no, I wore this jacket all the time. I wore this one jacket so much that it began to smell. and never watched it. But I would take it off. I'm like, oh my god, it wasn't good. Maybe I don't know. I was a dirty little faux stoner. What would you call a fake?
I mean, did
stoner?
you like walk around squinting your eyes, going, yeah, whoa, or like that? Or were you just acting like yourself, and they just?
I guess we just talked shit. By the way, that was a lot of the movie. Was kids just talking shit, talking about how they're doing this with this girl and that, and it just reminded. I was having flashbacks of all these conversations I had with other kids about all the shit that I was doing, but I never did any of it.
Right. So they did. The kid you mentioned a second ago, fuck shit. The guy with he was the stereotypical slacker character in the movie. Yeah. He's like. He even had a moment where he says, I don't really care about anything. Nothing matters to me. All I care about is skating and living my life. But in that moment, I was so glad this conversation that came out of that conversation, of him saying that, because there's this other kid who, by the way, they looked up to him because he was a black kid, and he skated. But I'm pretty sure he was like not a cool black kid, because I don't know if black kids in the 90s were doing a whole lot of skating.
Yeah. He also sounded and acted white a little bit. He didn't act like.
Well, yeah. So he was a nerd. He was not a nerd.
A skate nerd, I guess.
Everybody was like a Goonie,
right?
Like, you know how Goonies never say quit or whatever it is about that.
But the thing about this character you're talking about, do you remember the character's name?
I can't remember his name.
Anyways, the slacker kid you're talking about, fuck shit, he respected him because he was so good at skating.
Right, yeah.
But the only reason he was so good at skating is because he took it seriously and practiced all the time and put effort into it. And that was the contention between the two of them. And he's like, I want to do something with this. I'm serious about it. And the other kid's like, I just want to do it for fun.
His name was Ray in the movie. And the thing about that is that kid was taking his thing very seriously. So you could make this movie about anything. So it's about these skateboarding kids. Mm-hmm. However, you could say you can make it filmmaking. You can make it acting. You can make it comedy. You can make it anything. You always have that moment in your life where you outgrow your friends. Yeah. And I don't mean the point in time when I got taller than you. I mean when I outgrew you. Well, not you necessarily, but when
you're better than me now. I get it.
Well, I've been better than you, not since now, but for a long time. No, you have that moment where you...
And I have low enough self-esteem to agree with you.
No, you have that moment where your friends were... Like, you have your friends that you bond over something, and then you realize that one of them's going to take it seriously. And then he basically has to leave those friends behind. That friend has to leave those friends behind so that he could meet his full potential. Yeah. Because the friends sitting around, getting stoned, drinking... not taking anything seriously, not even working hard at the skateboarding thing, will hold you back. And I was so glad that friend said, yeah, all I care about is skating, but I care about that. It's not like it's not like nothing matters. Everything matters, but the only thing that really matters is skating. And so they were both saying the same thing almost, except one was taking a no, things matter, and the other kid was taking a nothing matters approach. Yeah. And, I had that moment with my friends when I was decided I wanted to make movies. I was a musician at first, and then I started making these like goofy home movies. Yeah,
you made movies with your friends. Yeah. I saw a couple of them way back a long time ago.
And I remember the moment when they got fed up with me because I was like, no, it should be like this. And we would set the camera on and make them say it over and over and over again. And they actually got mad at me and said, why do we keep having to do this over and over again? Why does this matter so much? And I remember saying them because it's not right. And that's when I realized that we weren't going to be able to do that anymore because I wanted to make things that were good and they just wanted to have fun. Yeah. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I had become not suddenly, but over time had become serious about that thing. And they were just treating it like a fun hobby.
Yeah. And we talked about this maybe yesterday, I think, but you realized... that you couldn't do music and make films. You kind of one had to suffer.
Yeah, you have to be obsessed with. You can only be obsessed with
one thing. Yeah. So for you, it was filmmaking. For the characters in this movie, it was skateboarding.
Yeah, for you, it's watching TV or something. What?
I don't know how to respond to that.
Anyway.
I do watch a lot of TV, but it's not much. Okay, we're not going to digress into the sadness of Balding Ewok's life.
So,
but
the kid gets in trouble for a couple of things because he's hanging around with much older kids.
He gets in trouble for almost killing himself by falling off a roof into a cement. What do you call it? One of those cement tables?
Yeah, like a picnic table.
Yeah. But like, dude, and I reacted when that happened.
Yeah,
because the sound and the way they edited it, I was just like, "Ooh!"
It was brutal. It was brutal. Yeah. But he got in trouble for it, and you start to see where, like, in the 90s is when I first started hearing about, like, self-harm, like people who were cutting. And for me, somebody who's never felt like that, had never heard of it, I thought, why are people cutting themselves? It didn't make any sense to me. Now I know a little bit more about it. They're trying to, actually, a lot of times it's psychologically trying to keep them grounded, like, they're alive. I'm alive. I feel this. This is something I feel. And but at the time, I'd never heard of that, never felt that. So this kid was sort of doing stuff like that, and I sort of took it as an approach like he had so much inner stuff going on that he was taking it out on himself.
I think part of it is that they're mad at themselves as well, because I never tried to cut myself, but I used to hit myself because I was angry at even if it wasn't really my fault or someone was mad at me at something that I didn't even know was, but I would blame myself and say stupid, hit myself in the head or punch or I'd be idiot, why'd you do that, and hit myself. So I didn't take it as far as the self-harm, but I would just I'd want to punch something so it would hit myself.
Yeah. So it does.
It seemed like that sometimes with the kid. Like when he strangled himself, he was angry at what just happened. He's like, ah!
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so there are very real moments in the movie. And
dude, that kid is so good. That part where he yells at his mom.
Yeah.
His mom was getting on to him about...
His mom embarrassed him in front of his friends.
Yeah.
And he lost
and he just goes, shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! And I was like, I got your attention. I said, dude, that was me. I've done that.
It was very real because I think that, where you said that that's you, I do think that most of us, I have, had those moments where you're just like so furious that all you can do is just scream. You can't process a thought. You're just literally seeing red. This kid, his performance is so believable at times. And he's such a quiet, bashful kid. And that is why when his mom embarrassed him, he felt so betrayed by her because he's so worried. The whole movie, the whole first half of the movie, he's got a friend telling him, "Don't say that, man. They'll think you're gay. Don't say that. Don't say that. That's stupid. Don't tell people to say. Don't tell people thank you.
Yeah.
They'll think you're gay." It's like, what's gay about telling people thank you? Just don't ask so many questions.
Yeah. That was the other difference between those two characters, the slacker and the guy who was serious about skating, was one of the other kids was acting like the slacker. So he's the one that's telling the kid, "Don't say thank you. That's gay. Don't do this. Don't do that." But then when he talked to the serious dude that he looked up to, that was trying to be a pro, he said, "Dude, there's nothing gay about. First of all, gay is okay, right. But there's nothing wrong with saying
thank you. It's common manners," is what the guy said. Yeah. It's just common manners.
He gave the kid a skateboard. He's like, Can I say thank you? Is it wrong? Is it okay?" He's like, "Yeah, of course."
Yeah. But that older kid is almost like the big brother he needed, Right. So that kid was giving him good advice. He was an actual good kid to look up for him, and he was also starting to take care of him in situations where this kid was trying to just fit in. This little kid was just trying to fit in, and he was, smoking, drinking, weed, popping a pill here or there. And this kid, Ray, the kid who was serious about skating, was telling him, "I think you're good, man. You don't need to do any more of that." He was like, "I know you're just trying to have fun, but I think you're good now. You don't need to do this anymore."
I want to be clear, just anyone who's listening, that we don't talk like that.
Why would anyone think that?
I don't know. I just feel like somebody could be listening and being like, what is Brad saying? That it's okay, that gay things are stupid? No, that's just how they talked back then.
That's just how they talked in the movie.
We don't believe that.
Yeah.
We don't use that.
I've never talked like that. When I heard teenagers using that as like an insult or like saying, it's like saying that's lame. That's lame.
Yeah, but the kids I was with, the cool kid group that I was with, that's how we talked.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like the kid in this movie, you start trying to be like the guys you are with.
And it's very much a way of, like, it's a machismo thing. Saying something's gay and meaning it's stupid is a way of a guy saying, I'm not gay.
Yeah.
So it's just how it was slang terminology from back then in the day, and we were less evolved group of people back then. We're supposed to be more evolved now, but however, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
There's a section of us that are more evolved.
We're supposed to be more evolved, and then we have Trump. You could probably edit that out.
So the only thing I will say about this movie that I here's the problem. I loved this movie. I thought it was so...
That's the problem?
Truthful and in the moment and honest. Even though it didn't have like a satisfying plot twist here and there, it was like a real, just like you're watching this thing unfold. But because of that, I wanted to sort of sit in it a little bit longer, and it ended abruptly. It just kind of stopped. And it's not that things weren't resolved. It resolved things as much as the film, I think, was ever going to resolve things. But it just didn't have like a solid everybody's okay, or even an open ending where things were like, you don't know how it's going to be, but everything's generally okay now. It didn't have that. It just kind of got to a moment, a big crisis happened, and then boom, it's done.
Yeah, well, there's sort of a moment where the kid's mother, can we say where they were? Okay, well, the kid's mother is sort of accepting of the kid's friends who she doesn't want him to be with because of what happened. I guess at least in that moment, she's like, okay, you can go be with him.
Yeah.
And then it ends. So it was kind of like, life goes on. Then the next day happens, and then But by the way, there were moments talking about this kid. There were several moments where I was thinking, is this? Are they going to get in trouble for doing this with this kid? The scene where he's in with the girl who's, what do we call it? A girl takes off she's in her underwear, and they start kissing and stuff.
Yeah.
But, that had to be like the kid's first. That kid is so young, and the stuff that was going on with that girl. So, but think about it, though. As nervous as you are, I mean, and he played it off so well, but I think he played it off so well because he actually was doing this for the first time. Yeah. And that nervous, but it just made it worse because there's a camera there, and
everybody's watching.
Could be a room full of people.
Think about how awkward it was for that slightly older girl.
How did he remember his lines? He probably didn't. She probably remembered the lines, and he just played off of her.
In terms of like making the movie, though, that girl also was in a weird spot because she had to be 15 or 16 years old, maybe even a little older.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out
he's got to be 10 or 12, and they're making out.
Because part of me was thinking she has to be under 18 in order for this to be legal. Yeah. But then I thought, but no, she'd have to be 18. I don't know. There's some questionable things that happen with this kid in the movie.
It is uncomfortable, and you do get a sense that it feels wrong.
Yeah.
because of the scenario in the movie, but also the behind the scenes parts of it.
Yeah.
She is way too old to be with him.
Yeah.
But she...
But that was a lucky kid. I kept telling you, that's a lucky motherfucker. Because even for your first time, even with having a camera, a pretty girl like that...
And he's getting paid.
Yeah.
He's getting paid to be there.
That was great for him.
So there's some awkward moments in the movie. Some of them have to do with brutal violence towards the kid.
Good.
And some of them have to do with, like, drinking and drugs and the kids smoking and all. And then the sexual, content. So I still think it's because of those things, it is a very kind of, I guess bold sounds like a cliche word, but kind of like a bold, like, first statement as a film from Jonah Hill, like the kind of movies he wants to make. I thought it was great. If you like those kinds of dramas that you might see around award season times, this is one to check out. And I felt bad. There was like 6 people in the theater. There's you and me, and then 2 other groups of 2 people.
Yeah. You it makes you sad because you want more movies like this.
Yeah.
But you know that there won't be because of the fact that there were 6 of us in the theater.
Yeah, and A24, who is the distributor of this film, has been on a streak in the last few years, making some of the most interesting movies. They've figured out a way to make interesting movies and still get them distributed into theaters. Like, there's a formula there. And they think they have something great in this movie because they've been promoting it left and right. If you follow them on Instagram, I do. And there's a couple of times a day there's a Mid90s Jonah Hill post talking about this movie and things about it and stuff like that, critically acclaimed and all that stuff. And I really think if you like thoughtful, thought-provoking character study dramas, and I don't want to say character study, I don't want to make it seem like it's just like watching a character live his life and it's boring. Stuff happens, but it's more about just watching this kid sort of grow up and try to integrate himself into a group of friends. Like, you see the moment where he decides he wants to be a skater. Like, he sees it and he's like, I want to do that. And he becomes obsessed with it. It's almost like skateboarding was his first love.
I have to say, man, the acting is so good in this movie that never do I feel like they're actually acting. The whole time I felt like these are real people saying and feeling these real things.
Multiple times in the movie I thought, these people are so believable. They must be skateboarding people who he cast in his movie to act.
Dude, that one
their skating is incredible. I never was a skater, but their skating.
The one black kid who was trying to be a pro, we watched him full shot do moves.
Yeah.
So he was a skateboarder.
Yeah. It's impressive. It's an impressive movie. It's a thought-provoking movie, and I'm still kind of like the whole slacker thing really made me think a lot when we saw it, because I hadn't thought about slackers in a long time.
By the way, I just realized that the whole movie, when that kid would hurt himself skating, they would sort of reward him for it, praise him for it, or give him respect and all that. Yeah. Like when he hurt himself real bad, the kid gave him a board.
You can take a hit.
And then towards the end of the movie, they're like, you don't have to do that. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, the kid says, you can take a hit. You can take the hardest hit of anybody I've ever seen.
And
the kid smiles and he says, well, you don't have to do that though, right?
Yeah, so what's the message there? He's like, maybe he's saying you don't have to kill yourself. Yeah. I mean, you're going to get hurt doing this, but maybe...
I mean, in life, if you want to zoom out and make this a metaphor for life, people do kind of perpetuate their own misery. And they do hurt themselves so that they can prove that they don't care or make
pay
themselves...
your dues, I think. Yeah. You get respect with the people you want to be with if they can see you paid your dues.
Yeah. there's a lot in there to talk about. I still feel like we could probably talk for another hour about it, but since we don't want to have a 2-hour podcast,
no,
I will just say go see it and let us know what you thought about it. Movieisms@gmail.com.
Yep, or you can send us a message on our website.
Yeah.
On the bottom there, it doesn't say let's chat, but it's like, do you like movies or some shit?
Or some shit.
Type something in.
Well, that's it for this week. I've thoroughly enjoyed Mid90s. I was actually surprised you liked it as much as you did, because I knew what kind of movie it was going to be, and I knew I wanted to see it, but it's not necessarily right up your alley.
I was that kid.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times, even the moment with the kid and that girl, I had a moment where a tall girl in the house we lived in, where we were renting to other people. One day the girl was home and I was home and no one else was, and she just grabbed me and started doing that. So I had a moment. I'm telling you,
okay,
this movie,
go ahead, Brad.
This movie was my childhood.
Yeah.
Without the skateboard. So, yeah.
But there are also some interesting, like, nostalgic moments with the video games. What did you say?
I knew every video game.
Yeah, every video game he was playing. But what
I could tell you by the sound effects. I was like, that's Street Fighter 2.
What was the magazine you said he should have been reading?
Oh,
he was reading
Nintendo Power.
But what was he reading instead?
Some magazine. Probably a skateboarding magazine.
No, it was a video game magazine or a comic book or something. You said, well, he should be reading Nintendo Power.
It was. I didn't recognize the name of it.
Okay.
But yeah, with the nostalgia going on.
Yeah. So if you grew up playing video games or skateboarding,
Nintendo was the original. Yeah, I mean there was Atari, but the one that really blew.
It took games to a different level.
Was Nintendo.
I mean, because Atari was like 8-bit asteroid games.
And I feel like a lot of people had Nintendo Power magazines.
Yeah. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, because you're not normal.
I did have a Nintendo, though.
Oh, okay.
I even, to this day, will still blow on things to get the dust off of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
I know. I mean, I at least know that.
Even in Nintendo 64, you had to blow on those things. They stuck with the cartridge for forever.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So we'll see you next time on Movieisms. Not quite sure what we're gonna. I would love to get to review Beautiful Boy, the Steve Carell movie about his son.
Oh,
and Timothée Chalamet, whose son is a drug addict. It's based on
not Steve Carell's son, but
his character in the movie.
Yeah.
It's based on 2 separate biographies, autobiographies. The first one is about the kid who wrote his own biography, and then the dad wrote an alternate biography. So they merged the 2 and made this movie.
And
but it's not playing in Orlando anywhere. I hope that comes out next week. I'm just not sure. Well, that's it for this time. We will see you again next time on When Movieisms returns. And we'll see you at the movies.
The beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end. The first end.
I guess the first end.
Thanks for ruining
the end.
The end. Movieisms is a production of Super Mega Ultra Entertainment and is produced by Michael Beckemeyer and Bradley Kingston. If you'd like to find out more, follow us on Twitter or Instagram. And make sure you click like on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/movieisms. If you're enjoying this podcast, please take a moment and give us a 5-star review in iTunes. It only takes a minute, and it helps us out more than you can imagine. Thank you very much, and until next time, we'll see you at the movies.